All right, we're live. What's up? Doing the weekly recap here. It's been a while
Yeah,
since we've had a podcast.
I know we're a little late, but we're still trying to like figure out the setup and get everything straightened out. So next time I have a better idea of what's going on. But I think every week, just I'm trying to track like the important injury news and stuff like that. I guess some promotions and demotions, but not too many. And then just get hitting ads for like save leagues, and then plus some save plus hold because I know they're getting more popular. And I like doing them. I hope it keeps growing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So this is week 7. It's a little weird with Yahoo because they combine week 1 and 2. Uh, I think it was almost like a half a week and then a full one, so they didn't want to do like a shortened week.
Oh,
And
exactly.
all the uh, all the roster percentage you're going to see are based on 12 team Yahoo standard leagues. I know the NFBC's really popular too. I'll try and eventually mix in that data. It's just since I'm not in those leagues, I don't have the information that readily available. I'll try and get it somehow. But there's really no order in the news and notes. It's kind of as I found stuff. Um,
Okay.
like there's no priority of person or anything like that. So I'll just kind of go through them as I came across stuff and found it notable. So
Okay. Cool.
recently, Jose Altuve, Nico Horner came off the IL Friday, and then Severino started today. He only went 4 innings, but he looked pretty good. I imagine they'll build him up to 5 innings his next start. I mean, it depends on his walk to K rate. That usually inflates your pitch total. And then, I mean, I don't know what he's got left, but Lance McCullers Jr. The Astros rotation is depleted right now, so it is notable that he's expected to throw live BP next week, and he could start a rehab assignment in late May. So really not looking at a return anytime soon. But he is 54% rostered, so if you have an IL stash, you could think about doing it. I imagine once he comes back, they're going to baby his innings, and his workload will be pretty limited. But they are a good team, so if he can eventually make it 5, he should have a chance at wins. And he's been decent in the past. He's got a solid K rate. Julio Urias for the Dodgers, he's 90% rostered, so it's not really about adding or dropping. It's just more of an update. So he suffered a hamstring strain. He just went on the IL. They don't really have a timetable, and he's been struggling lately. So there's a good chance it was due to the injury. I mean, he went, I think, in third, fourth rounds of draft. So he's someone you definitely want to hold on to. I mean, I know NFBC don't have IL slots, so there's something you might have to contemplate dropping, but that really depends on the length of the injury. Jorge Polanco, the second base for Minnesota, he's about 55% rostered. It's probably dropping now. So if you're in a shallow league and you don't have the ability to hold him, you might want to think about letting him go, despite the fact that he's been doing good. But he's had this lower body injury going into the season, and it feels like more of a re-injury than a new injury. It's a hamstring strain. And the fact that he had to undergo an MRI Saturday is a little bit concerning. I mean, if it was just a minimal stint hamstring strain, I don't think they would bother to do that. Maybe they're just being precautious. But Edward Julian's about 3% rostered still. It's probably going up. He was great in spring, and he was solid when he filled in for Polanco before he returned. So he might be worth an add in deeper leagues and somebody to watch if he plays every day. And I don't know, maybe in standard he could be a streamer. I don't know. In the leagues I play in the 12 team, I wouldn't be rostering him, but I would definitely add him if I needed like a fill in for power and some speed and batting average. Tristan McKenzie, he's starting to rehab. I mean, it's a shoulder strain; those are pretty serious. He's 80% rostered, so maybe in a shallow, like a very shallow league, you can still add him, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
He's
Early
starting.
June sounds early for that. That sounds early. That's only like next week,
Well,
pretty much.
it's a little vague because when you say early June, it could be like a week, 2 weeks into June and still kind of qualify. Plus, there's still a week or so left of May. And you never know, they can suffer setbacks during rehab assignments. So it's hard to always gauge timelines like that. Especially when they're not, you know, I mean, they rarely ever give an exact date, but at least have a vague idea of return. This was a weird one. Manny Machado had a small hand fracture, which, I mean, whether it's small or not, it's still a fracture. And he was just trying to avoid going to the IL. They had him day to day for, I think, 3 games. And then he went on the IL yesterday. He's expected to miss the minimum, but any kind of hand injury is concerning because it can warp power. I know handmade bones do, but, just anything to do with it can kind of have an impact. And he was struggling most of the season anyway. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but hopefully when he returns, he'll be back to normal. I know I wanted to take him in the second round, late first of my drafts. I didn't get him anywhere, which I guess now is kind of a good thing. And then this is kind of sad because Cody Bellinger had been playing great. He was putting up, I think, second round value. He's a former MVP. He struggled with the Dodgers after having, I think it was shoulder surgery. This is a knee contusion, which is, a bruise. So it's expected to be a minimum stint, but hopefully it just doesn't impact the momentum he'd been building off of a really good start to the year. And the Cubs are looking like a decent lineup. I think he was batting either 4th or 5th. And he had Horner, Swanson, and Happ ahead of him. So that 1 through 4 was pretty good. Dylan Lee's more of a hold option in really deep standard leagues. He's a good ratio play, even if he's not getting saves. He had a 3.10 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP, which is pretty good with 6 holds. Shoulder inflammation, so that's really bad. There's no time of kill for return. Unless I really had just IL spots to burn, I wouldn't be holding him. This is a weird one. Andres Munoz, he was originally supposed to miss, I think, 2, maybe 3 weeks, and it's going on like almost 2 months now. I guess he's had some setbacks. Once again, shoulder injury. Anything checked to the shoulder is just not good. They're very, they can compound into other injuries. They can kind of morph and get worse. And just seems like his timetable is very vague. They're saying early April, but he's already had multiple delays. Dustin May, he's got a long injury history. Forearm strain, not good. It seems like he's going to avoid surgery, but he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Gavin Stone and Bobby Miller are top prospects for them. They're going to start next week against Atlanta, which is a really bad matchup. Atlanta's probably the best offense in the league. So I know they're going to get picked up. They're really hard to stream against Atlanta. I guess you could just hope that they do okay, and then hopefully their next start's easier opponent. But these are top prospects. They are going to get added. I bet right now Stone's probably over 15 to 20%. This is at the time of the post for May when I put that information in. Seth Lugo had been having a great season. It's a calf strain, so he's expected to miss the minimum. He's 30% rostered in Yahoo, making him, like an above average streamer. I streamed him, I think, once or twice. And, the Padres are a good team, even though they've been underperforming. When he comes back, if he's been dropped, he'll probably be worth streaming again, if not holding in more of a shallow league. Now, this is a little bit hard to read because Liam Hendriks is coming off of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's not like an injury with
but that's
clear timetable from
stays with you.
Experience. Yeah, so he was supposed to return later this week, but then instead of rehab starts, he switched to throwing live BP, which is kind of a step in the wrong direction. And now there's really no timetable for his return. Maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks. I think they're he didn't do well in his rehab outings, so I think they're just trying to let him figure things out without having to throw him into the fire and closing right away. But when he is active, I expect him to take over from Graveman, who's been solid, and Joe Kelly's been mixing in 2 for saves in deep leagues. Graveman's already rostered, and both of them become decent hold options once Hendrick's back. Um, Adam Duvall was doing amazing before his injury. It's a fractured wrist, so hopefully that doesn't impact his power the rest of the season because he's really not an average hitter. And Boston's been pretty good this year. I didn't expect him to do this well. A lot of that is because Yoshida's been great, and um, he's expected to turn in around a month. So it's hard to really gauge, but I would at 60% rostered. There's a chance he's still available to stash. It's still pretty far. Uh, it's pretty far like from return, and also it's vague on the timeline, so it might be hard to do if you don't have clear spots to play around with. This is more of a deeper league option, but Jared Walsh for the Angels. He had some decent power seasons, but he's been struggling. He's been pretty solid in his rehab, and if he's going to hit behind Trout and Otani, he'll have RBI opportunities. It's just not someone I would really worry about in 12s unless I was trying to stream for power.
What's his? He's got headaches. That's what he's got. Headaches.
I don't know. I guess it could be some kind of concussion related thing. It was also maybe vertigo. It was hard for me to find like a clear indication on what it was.
So he's probably going to be back soon. So that sounds like.
Oh yeah, he was activated today.
All right, so he'll be in this week.
Yeah, I didn't check if he was playing today, but I don't know. He might end up platooning a little bit, but they don't have like the greatest lineup beyond the top heavy part of it with the first few hitters. This is not an injury. Domingo Germán, he's been decent this year, 30% rostered. He's a little bit more than a streamer, but I haven't really kept him on my rosters when I added him. 10-game suspension for a banned substance that's automatic, and he starts to serve it Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry, what's the substance?
Started serving it this Wednesday. I don't know. It was something. I think it was like pine tar or something, but I didn't really.
Oh, okay.
I don't really look that far into it. I just know he's going to be out 10 games, so that's all that really matters. Nico Horner, we already covered. He came back. Tyler Glasnow, I mean, they're saying he's going to be back soon. It's always hard to trust him. He has a lengthy injury history, but he is really good when he plays. It's an oblique injury. He had a rehab start Sunday, and he's suspected to return the end of next week. So I don't know. It's hard to trust the Rays with how they handle any pitching, and all their pitchers seem to get hurt with like Springs and Rasmussen this year. But when they do pitch, they pitch well. They'll likely limit his innings initially. Tyler O'Neill, he can be probably stashed in 12-teamers. I have him, and I can't bring myself to drop him. I just know when he returns, his playing time is not going to be every day, probably. Marmol likes to rotate like 6 people in an outfield. It's a back injury, which can be tricky. He already had his initial start of a reassignment delayed, so that's not looking great. And if you have to, he's a cut. I wouldn't if I could avoid it, but if I have all my IL slots filled and he's the worst one, then I'd let him go. I'm just not at that point yet. Giancarlo Stanton, hamstring injury, so those can be tricky. He's not known for speed or anything like that, but he already has had a history of injuries, and he's close to starting a rehab assignment. Still probably a couple weeks away. This is
How old is he now? How old is Giancarlo now? He's not that young anymore, so you never know. That could take those kind of hamstring things a little bit longer when you have that.
Let me see. He is 33. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. It's gonna go a little longer.
The longer it's gonna take for the rehab, and he's just had injury upon injury. Some of them were freaking, like getting hit in the face with a ball isn't really connected to
Yeah, it sucks.
When you're
That's some bad
training or
luck.
anything like that. Yeah, but it is. It's been said that the way that he lifts all the time, like he looks like insanely strong. It's possibly led to injuries, but I don't think it's going to stop him from doing it. He just wants to play 50 home runs every year. I don't think he cares about how many games he plays.
Oh
Um,
yeah, exactly. That's his goal.
so Carlos Rodon, another pitcher with a lengthy injury history. It's a back injury. He's already had several delays in his rehab. I think he got some kind of injection to deal with the pain. He's just throwing from 90 feet, and he has no timetable. He's still 93% rostered. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure people in the NFBC are thinking about dropping him, but he does have upside, and the Yankees should win a lot of games.
Nice.
Elo
I thought
Jimenez,
they've been doing bad. They've been doing bad too, right? The Yankees.
I think they're getting better now that Judge has returned and some other people, but they've had a lot of injuries to deal with, so it's always hard to win when half your roster is not healthy.
And that division's really good. I thought like the Rays are good. Everyone there is good except for
Yeah,
probably
the
the
Rays are the
Orioles.
best team in baseball. Boston's doing good. Toronto's good. Baltimore's good. So it's probably the toughest division right now. Yeah, mainly because Boston was not expected to be this good, and the Orioles are developing. They have a lot of young players that they've been picking high for like the last 5 years, and now they're all up and starting to figure it out. Where we at? So Eloy Jimenez, he's 87% rostered, which seems low, but he's just had so many injuries. I'm sure people are just sick of dealing with it. He had an appendectomy. He's starting a return next week. You never know with him. I would probably expect the week after that, just knowing, players are always optimistic on their timelines, and then the medical staff will usually like tell them it's a week past what they're thinking they can get away with. He was expected DH this year, but to try and keep him healthy. But he insisted on playing the
Mm.
outfield, and he's expected to play right field when he gets back, which is good for Jake Berger, who we'll talk about later on. Dylan
Oh, yeah, he's in
Carlson.
our photo.
Dylan Carlson on 3% rostered. He was barely even a deep league guy. It's a left ankle sprain. Uh, I don't know. I wouldn't hold on to him if I had to. Oscar Mercado is recalled. He has a little bit of speed. I guess if he starts to play, you could look at him, but it just means more playing time for Nootbaar, Edman, and Donovan. And Nootbaar and Edman are already rostered, and Donovan's been pretty bad, so it doesn't really impact too much. Garrett Whitlock, 21% rostered, so he's definitely somebody I would be looking at. It's an elbow injury, so those are always tricky. He started in AAA Sunday, only went 4 innings. I think they're still building him up. He's expected to start Tuesday against Arizona, which I don't know. I doubt he makes it five, and Arizona's been pretty good this year. So I like him, but I don't know if I would really start him right away. Uh, Ian Hamilton, this is pretty sad. He was really reviving his career. He kind of was like a journeyman and unknown, and he was pitching great this year. He had a right groin strain, and he was mixing in for saves too. So it really happened at a bad time. He's
Mm.
expected to miss 4 weeks. He was 4% rostered, and it was going up. I was debating adding him in a 12-team league. I had him in a C plus whole leagues, which is I think a 16-teamer. But if you have him, and he's going to be hard to hold unless you really have IL slots to burn. But watch for when he returns because he looked great when he was healthy. It's sad. Jacob Degrom, he's always injured. Elbow injury. Light bullpen session Tuesday. Expected to turn mid to late June. You never know with him. Most of the time his rehabs get delayed. I would not anticipate him beating any timeline that he's given. Just the amount of money that they have invested in him, I don't think they want to rush him back, despite how good they're doing. Joe Barlow, you could look at him in like a deep league that counts holds. He pitched okay in AAA, 2.63 ERA, but 1.24 WHIP is not that great. and he's never
It's a
been a big striker.
low percent to start right there too.
Yeah, 1%. Well, he wasn't on the IL. He was demoted, so you had to NI stash him, and a lot of leagues don't have those. He was okay in the past, but it's more about just the fact that Jonathan Hernandez is struggling. Jose Leclerc hasn't been that great, so he could eventually work into high leverage. I think he's worth mentioning if you're in a whole league and it's really um, empty on the wire. Jazz Chisholm, turf toe. This is a bad one. He's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, and he was, you know, he wasn't hitting for average, but 7 home runs and 14 stolen bases is really good. And the Marlins are gonna really miss him. They already had a pretty weak lineup. And another Marlin, Jesus Sanchez, he was really heating up. He was hitting 290 with 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases. He was,
Oh God,
I think,
good,
under
good,
five
good
percent
start.
rostered. So he's probably a hard hold unless you're in a deep league and you have aisle slots. John Schreiber, 2% rostered, which I thought would have been higher. I know in whole leagues he was pretty much universally rostered. It's a shoulder strain. He's expected to miss 3 months. Is bad. He was great last year. He had a 2.12 ERA this year, 1.29 WHIP, which was high for him, but the K rate was still good, and he had 6 holds, so that's a tough loss if you had him. It moves up Chris Martin a slot to setting up. Another pitcher we're going to talk about later, Josh Mikowski, moves up a little bit. It's a pretty weak pen, so I really could not afford to lose him. Jock Peterson, hand contusion. It doesn't sound that serious, but there's really no timetable. He's 27% rostered. I doubt you need to hold him in 12s. It's more of a deeper league play for power, and he sits against lefties, so he's kind of hard to roster to begin with.
He's just bad against lefties. Like, just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, the way the Giants are, they have like two lineups. They have a lineup versus lefties and lineup versus righties, and most of the time he doesn't hit against them. It's kind of been like that going back to the Dodgers. Brad Boxberger, 8% rostered. I don't think you need to hold on to him in 12s. He lost the closing position. It's a forearm strain. He has no timetable. And Jeremiah Estrada, I would watch him in say plus whole leagues. He's a top prospect. He looked good in the limited time. He just wasn't working high leverage. You never know. Maybe eventually he can in the second half. It's definitely somebody not to add, but if you have a watch list, put him on it in like a deeper league. Brandon Woodruff, this is more just I think they needed to make other ads, so they put him on the 6-day aisle. I expect it to turn late June. CJ Crone, back spasms. He's going to be shut down for a few weeks, and he was struggling. He was hitting 228 with 6 home runs. I'm hoping because I have him on one league. He was struggling because of the back injury. Back injuries are tricky. You can look at like Christian Yelich. They come and go. They can really sap your
Yeah,
power and hurt your performance, and it's not clear how they get treated a lot of times.
they're permanent injuries, back injuries. It never really goes away. It's usually a disc. It's not gonna ever go away. Whenever you get that, that's like gonna
Right.
always
Yeah. I
be
mean,
there.
Christian Yelich went from an MVP candidate to a shell of himself. He looks a little bit better this year, but he had back injuries going back to Miami, and he played through them and went like 40-40. So eventually it caught up to him the older he got. Anthony Rendon, he was actually doing pretty good. A lot of people were saying he was washed, but he had a groin strain. Uh, he's expected to miss a few weeks. Given his age, though, it might take longer than normal. He was hitting 301, not much power, but you know it's nice to see him rebound a little bit. So this is a really big name to watch. I should put him on the ads, but I'm covering it here. Royce Lewis for Minnesota, 10% roster right now. It's going to go up pretty significant, I think, soon. There's a chance that he adds third base because Jose Miranda was demoted, and I don't know if they just want Kyle Farmer to play third every day. I mean, he's kind of like a journeyman. Lewis can play in the outfield, so he'll probably mix in there. But he's eligible to turn later this month. And in AAA, he was just crushing it. So I would definitely think about stashing if I could. He was hitting 444 with 3 home runs and 3 steals in 5 games. So I mean, he was just dominating.
Oh man.
I mean, it's AAA, but still, you have to, produce no matter
Yeah,
what
he's
it
ready
is.
to be. He's ready to be up then.
Yeah, I think he's gone in all my leagues. But if I had an IL slot and you know I could afford to stash him, I would right now. It sounds like it's going to be a little past when he's eligible that he'll return, but I'm expecting him to play near to every day. It's just where if you can add third base, that would be huge for his value. He's only got shortstop at the moment, so he's either going to get add third base and outfield. I think um, Jose Alvarado. The injury looked a lot worse than I thought it was originally. Like expected originally. It was an elbow injury, which is never good. He resumed throwing this week. He might return in early June, but it's kind of vague. And he was just absolutely dominant. He had a .63 ERA, .63 WHIP, and in 14 innings he had 24 Ks with no walks. I mean, he was just destroying people. So it's unfortunate that he's going to miss this much time. And the replacements I'm going to cover later on in the ads. Other than Craig Kimbrell, he was too high rostered. So that's all the news and notes. Is a lot. Hopefully, it's not like that every week, but you never know. I mean, I try to cover just like the significant ones. I can't cover every little thing and every like borderline
Yeah.
person with rostering.
Well, you covered most. It was mostly injury news. Seems like it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were promotions and motions, but they came so quick that the people are, they be like those I needed to mention as they happened during the week. They're not really something that's actionable on Sunday when it happened like on Monday. We're kind of too late to be posting that now. That's something I'll
Oh yeah.
post on Twitter. Like an ad or drop for a hitter. It's something I'll just post like as it's happening live on Twitter. A lot of times it's
Right.
hard to do that with an article or something like this because it's too after the fact. So now we'll get into just like some ads. A lot of these people, um, they're probably rostered in 12s already. I know Jake Fraley's not in mine, which he's probably going to be added Monday. I think most people have already burned through their ads. And Jake Berger, I think people just forgot about him because he was on the IL for a little bit. But um, he's 44% rostered, so that's pretty much borderline. He's been, I think we have some clips of him. He's
Looks like
been,
we just have clips of Jake Frere. The next one up is Frarley. I see that.
oh, you must have the old list because I added it later on.
Oh, is he
Well,
just at the bottom?
no, it should be the first one and then Fraley after him. Do you refresh it?
Yeah, let me refresh it. Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it.
So
All right, hold on.
he's pretty much. Well, I mean, he is playing every day, but he's pretty much hitting in the middle of the order now. They had him more at the bottom. Um, he started the season in the minors, and then recently he had an oblique strain, so that's why his bats are so low. Makata, Yoan Makata came back recently, and he's going to play third every day. So Berger now is going to have the DH. But like we mentioned with Eloy Jimenez, uh, he's going to play right field. So Eloy's not going to DH. That allows Berger to hopefully still hit in the middle of the order. He hit cleaned up one game, which is significant because Tim Anderson, Andrew Vaughn, and Luis Robert were ahead of him. So that's a lot of potential RBIs. And it's going to be interesting to see where Eloy hits. If they go Eloy in the cleanup spot and Berger fifth, then that's just another huge opportunity for him to drive in people. I think his power is legit at this point. He was solid last year in limited time. He's not going to get any steals, so don't expect that. But the White Sox lineup seems to be improving. They had a lot of injuries, and Luis Rivera's been great the last few weeks. So I wouldn't expect a lot of runs, but he should produce above average RBIs. And he's hitting for average, and his on base and OPS skills look good too. So let's go to Jake Fraley. Fraley's interesting. He really can be difficult to roster at times because he's a platoon player. As you can see, he's 44% rostered, so like Berger, just kind of on the borderline. He has a solid history of power and speed, but he's had a hard time staying healthy. In 78 games with Seattle, he had 9 home runs and 10 steals, so that's like 2020 pace. And then 2022, he got traded to Cincinnati. He had 12 home runs and 4 steals in 68 games. So he's looking like, 25 home run, maybe 10, 15 steal kind of player over a full season in a really good park. I'd say next to Colorado, probably the best hitting park in the league. He's hitting third. He's pretty much hit third for most of the season. Jonathan India's leading off, and he's having a really good year. They just called up one of their top prospects, and Matt McLean. He's hitting second now. And there's the potential of Ellie De La Cruz to get called up soon. I don't know how soon, but he's a top 5 prospect in the league. And then Joey Votto should come back. He's a little older now. He's, I wouldn't say he's washed or anything like that, but they can only help the lineup in his counting stats. But he's definitely a platoon risk. He's only had 18 at-bats versus lefties this year, and he's hitting .56, so that's really, really bad. Like I said, the reason why he's probably not owned higher than 50% is because of that. Cincinnati, they're going to be at home from 5/22 to 5/25 next week, and the 25th is a very light day for just games. If you're in a shallow league, that's probably a good spot to just stream him. And if you're in a deep league, he's already gone. So that's why he's kind of on the borderline. But just some other ads connected to Cincinnati being a good stream, just based on being at home. Matt McLean at shortstops, 38%. Nick Senzel, third base outfield, 23%. Will Myers, first base outfield, 18%. Spencer Steer, first base, third base, 11%. Jose Barrero, shortstop, outfield, 0%. And Stuart Fairchild, outfield, 0%. So most of these are deeper league plays. McLean's probably a 12-teamer. The 0% guys are like pretty much streamers even in a deep league. Next up, Lane Thomas, outfielder for Washington, 30% rostered. I think it jumped up about 10% just over the past week. He's been just amazing. Last 30, he's hitting .297 with 21 runs, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. That's second round value. He's leading off every single game now. It's not a great lineup. Heimer Candelario has been a little bit better lately. Meneses has some power. There's definitely worse teams, but it's really more about him just getting on base and hopefully getting driven in. His OPS and on-base skills are pretty good. He debuted last year after getting traded from St. Louis. He had .241 with 17 home runs and 8 stolen bases, 146 games. So he definitely, he could maybe hit 20, 25, 10, 15 steals. But his average should be above maybe 270, 280. He's not like anything amazing, but he's solid. And 37%, that's probably like a bench option in a 12-team or something like that. Alex Kirilloff, Minnesota, first base outfield, which is a nice mix of eligibility, especially if you're in leagues that count corner infield and different outfield slots you have to fill. 29% rostered, so he's still pretty available. He's having a really good stretch since he came off the IL, but you know he's just had so many injuries. 2021, he only played 59 games. 2022, he only played 45 games. So his track record is not great, but he's always hit when he's played, and he's hit well in the minors. So far this year, he's hitting 300 with 4 home runs, 13 RBIs in 14 games. So some of that is single
Sounds
A,
good.
most of it is triple A, but still, I mean that's a lot. Uh, Jorge Polanco just won on the IL, which moved up Kirilov to second in the order behind Gallo, Joey Gallo, and ahead of Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa. So that's a pretty good spot, at least for runs. CJ Abrams on Washington, second base shortstop, 27%. He really looked like one of the better prospects coming up with San Diego. I know he got comped to Trey Turner a bunch. I don't think he really has that kind of upside anymore. I think just his K rate. But so far, he's hitting 240 with 4 home runs and 5 steals. The power seems a little high, and the stolen bases seem a little low. I think most people probably would project him for 10 home runs, 30 steals, in like an ideal season. He's hitting ninth in a pretty mediocre lineup. So, counting stats might not be great. I would hope eventually they'll move him up, but maybe they're just comfortable with not putting too much pressure on him right now. I think he has more upside than some of the other people on this list. So I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't prioritize him over the people ahead of him. But if you need steals, you're not going to get that from Kirilov. You're not going to get that from Berger, and Fraley and Thomas are kind of middling on both. So as far as stolen bases, he definitely stands out above everyone else that I've listed so far. Lamonte Wade Jr., San Francisco first base outfield, 27% rostered. Like Fraley, he he's kind of a platoon. He platoons, but not as drastic. He can hit lefties a little bit. It's more versus righties. He'll hit first, and against lefties, they move him down to like seventh, I think, eighth. But he's put up some decent numbers in the past. In 2021, he hit 253 with 18 home runs and 6 stolen bases in 109 games. So that's pretty good. That's probably not a sustainable pace, but he's definitely shown that he has about 20 to 25 home run upside with a little bit of stolen base, and that's pretty hard to find sometimes.
What does it mean to platoon, by the way?
It just means versus lefties, you'll either get benched or demoted in the lineup, and versus righties, you kind of play every day. Um, so platoon would be two people at the same position, and one rotates with the other based on who's pitching.
Oh, true.
Brian De La Cruz, Miami outfielder, 21% rostered, so he'll probably be available in 12s. I um, I liked his profile last year. It's just for some reason they can't seem to give up on him. He had 13 home runs and 4 stolen bases in 115 games, which is pretty good.
Yeah, no clips for him, but yeah, he's got good stats so far.
Unless Tisson, Garcia, and Sanchez are all in the IL, so he should play every day.
Oh, so Miami's got some. They got some injury issues.
And they're at Colorado. I don't
Oh,
know
where
if
it's
you want
gonna
to.
be good to hit some
I
home runs.
don't know if you want to go over the rest of the people from Miami.
Is that where you got John Birdie's second base? Yeah, there's some ads. John Birdie, second base, third base, shortstop, outfield, 31% start. Gene Segura, second base, third base, 25% start. Garrett Cooper, first base, 5% start. Or is that owned? I'm sorry.
No, that's
That's
roster
owned.
percentage.
Yeah, there's a roster percentage of percent. Sorry. Garrett Hampson, second base, third base, shortstop, outfield, only 1% owned. That's a deep league kind of. That's deep league play. And then you have Nick Fortes, the catcher, not really owned at all, so he'll definitely be there. Next one on this list is Marcel Azuna. Got some clips on him.
Yeah, I'm not that confident in him as far as average, but he has a pretty solid track record of power.
Oh yeah,
Um, and he's hitting seventh, but it's in one of the better lineups in the league with Atlanta. The last 30, he's hitting 290 with 6 home runs, and he's the 111th ranked player. So that's not bad. I don't know if
yeah,
it
it's good.
sticks. He's shown some stolen base ability in the past, but given his age, I don't know if that's really going to be there.
Yeah, I'm
And
looking him
then
up right now. Let me just. How old is he now?
I think he's
He is. He's 32. So I mean, he's Dominican. So does that have to? Does that take take it down? Um, he's called the Big Bear nickname. Have you heard that nickname for him?
what is it?
The Big Bear.
No.
I think you might have to be a Atlanta Braves fan to know that. Yeah, he's got a good bit of highlights here. I'm saying he had 23 home runs last year, and these are all the whole clips of him. And yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely hits for power.
he's had multiple 30 home run seasons before, so he's capable. It's just whether or not his skills have eroded, given his
Oh, true.
Emmanuel Valdez, Boston second baseman. This is more of a deep league play, 2% rostered, but on average, he's the 135th ranked player. And in AAA, 96 games, he hit 255 with 18 home runs and 5 steals. Not like overly impressive, but solid. He's hitting
Yeah,
seventh or eighth every day, so it's a above average lineup.
wait,
So I mean,
he's in the seventh or eighth spot. He's in that spot.
yeah, there's nine spots in the lineup, so he
Yeah, I
hits
didn't
the
know he was
first
so.
one.
Okay, so he should be available. Somebody like this. Good ad.
Yeah, 2% is pretty low for a 12 teamer. I don't think most people will have him.
Yeah,
I
he'll
know
be there.
in my deeper league stuff, he's been gone for a while now. So that's it for hitting. Um, I don't really cover starters because part of my strategies are to not roster them. I do stream occasionally, which I'll try and bring up some later, but it's really not like a focal point of what I care about. So that's why I focus more on saves and hold and stuff like that. So Michael King, 41% rostered, which is anything under 50 is. I'm sorry, anything above 50 is kind of like already gone in a 12 teamer. So this is like borderline. I'm pretty sure he's gone in most 12 teamers already. Clay Holmes is just regressed. His season long numbers are ugly, but he's been good lately. I think he got a save today. He might work more back into getting saves, but Michael King already was kind of mixing in. I think he got 2 saves before Wandy Peralta got the next three, and then Holmes got one today. So it's kind of a committee. But
Yeah, that sinker is
2000,
fucking nasty.
2022, he had 6 wins, a save, and 16 holds, 2.29 ERA, and 1 WHIP. I mean, that's good enough to be rostered in non-save plus hold leagues just for ratios. And he had 66 Ks in 51 innings, so he's regressed a little bit there, but he's coming off of I think he broke his arm, so that's pretty significant injury to come back from. I don't you know, I think his
Yeah,
velocity's been
Fisher.
down. Yeah, he broke his arm, so
His throwing arm?
I think so. Yeah, so I it's gonna be a little
Damn.
bit until he's like back to normal, but he still looks pretty good despite all that. Uh, now this one I really can't endorse. I just feel like I have to bring it up given how desperate people are for saves. Pierce Johnson, I mean, his ratios are ugly. Um, I don't know what else to say. Like he's getting saves right now. Daniel Bard came back, but he hasn't seen it. I don't think he's seen a single save opportunity. And I mean, Pierce Johnson can look good at times. He can look really bad. He has control issues, but he also has a really high K rate. 2021 with the Padres, he looked solid. He had 3 wins, no saves, 12 holds, 3.22 ERA, which is okay, but a 1.26 whip is really bad. But 77 strikeouts in 58.2 innings is really good. So
That is.
you got when you add him, you got to understand what you're doing, what you're getting yourself into. He could destroy your ratios,
So he's
but he
either like
could
striking people out or getting like shit hit
a
the fuck
walk.
hit
Yeah,
off of him.
and
Yeah.
go over his home and road splits. You know, he's on the Rockies, so clearly pitching at
Oh
home is
yeah.
going to be difficult. So listen to this: at home, 8.68 ERA, away 1.04. Home, his WHIP 2.14, away 1.27, which is not that great. And then he's given up 3 home runs at home and 0 on the road. So I don't know if you can not platoon, but like pick when you want to use him. I to me, he just seems very difficult to roster. It's a lot of risk to get saves, but it's hard for me to not bring him up. Uh, Dylan Floro, this is more of a short term play with AJ Puck out. So since AJ Puck went down, he's had 4 saves. And oh, what happened there?
Is that not going?
Let me
What's up,
change.
Brett?
So I'm headed to my notes.
What's up,
Okay,
Noah?
so
He's back. Yeah. Copied
so
him.
AJ
I
Puck's
cut
dealing
by
with
accident there.
AJ Puck's dealing with dead arm and nerve irritation. He doesn't have a timetable to return. Floro's not a high K upside play, but he's had solid ratios in 2022, 3.02 ERA, 2021, 2.81 ERA, and he's looked decent so far this year. I, you know, I would just ride him until Puck comes back, and I assume Puck will close once he returns. Mark Leiter Jr. Now, this is a play that I think could have more season long potential. Um, Obviously, these are in well, they were in order of roster percentage. I think Dominguez has dropped, but I would put Leiter ahead of Floro and Johnson, despite the roster percentage. I think Leiter Jr. has more of an out to close the rest of the year, if not be the lead in a committee. And the committee probably includes Edbert Alzolay and Brandon Hughes, who's their lefty specialist. So that's more of like a matchup play when he gets used. But Leiter Jr. has been amazing so far this year. Like you can see, his season stats are impressive. And last season he was solid: 2 wins, 3 saves, 4 holds, 3.99 ERA is not great, but a 1.14 WHIP is pretty good, and 73 Ks and 67.2 innings. It's not bad.
That's good.
He
A
also
lot of strikeouts.
he's he's starting pitcher eligible in Yahoo, which is a big deal in
Oh,
leagues where you're
nice.
trying
You
to
could slot him
stack.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's only 2 slots. So if you put nothing but closers and relief pitchers everywhere else, then this gives you an advantage over people doing the same thing or just in general. Sir Anthony Dominguez, his season long numbers look really bad because he had, I think, not a start, an appearance early in the year where he gave up like 5 runs on 1 out. So that's hard to come back from.
Yeah, look, make sure that tanks your stats.
Yeah, but he's looked better in the last few weeks. Uh, Craig Kimbrell is probably going to close, but he hasn't looked the same for a few years now. He's pretty old. I don't know if you want to look that up real quick. How old Craig
Who?
Kimbrell is?
Craig Kimbrell. Let me see. He is. He's 34. He's
Yeah, so
you know,
that's pretty
I
old.
mean, you can go a little bit longer than that though in baseball, right? What's kind of the stopping 40?
I don't
A
know.
little
I think
below
it
40?
varies. I think it just varies. Some people are like their bodies are older than their age, given what they've been through.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like Giancarlo Stanton's body is like 50 years old, and he might be 32 or whatever.
Right.
So Wandy Peralta's kind of a weird one. He's a bit of a journeyman. He was pretty good last year with the Yankees. His numbers are a little down in comparison. Last season, he had 3 wins, 4 saves, and 9 holds, with a 2.72 ERA and a 1.05 WHIP, which is significantly lower than his 1.30 this season. He's not a big strikeout guy, but he's definitely in the mix for saves. And the Yankees, they're not what they used to be as far as win potential, but I think he had 3 saves, and then Holmes got this one today, so it's kind of a weird mix. But even if he's not getting saves, I guess he's okay for ERA. I don't know if I really trust him that much, but it's hard to not bring him up given the usage that he's been getting lately. So now this is where we're getting to like deeper league ads for more whole leagues. Some of these people though should definitely be rostered for potential saves. Caleb Ferguson on the Dodgers, 6% rostered. He's a lefty specialist, so Evan Phillips is the main closer, but he also works high leverage, which means he'll sometimes come in on the 7th or 8th, given the difficulty coming up with the lineup. That just means Brusdar, Gratterall, and Ferguson could get save opportunities because of that. And the Dodgers are one of the best teams in the league, so there should be enough opportunities to go around. And Ferguson's been good. He has a little bit of a hard time staying healthy. I didn't get to put in his season stats, but
Oh, for Nick Anderson here.
no. This is where like I ran out of time. I'll have to
Oh
like
yeah, I put NA. I put NA for Ferguson right there. Not available yet.
so Nick Anderson. He's jumped AJ Minter in the pecking order behind Rafael Iglesias, who's kind of struggled since coming off the IL. Nick Anderson looked great when he was in Tampa, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries. He looks really good this year. He might not get saves, but he could be the replacement when Iglesias rests, and he should be good for ratios. Albert Alzolay on Chicago. I mentioned him earlier. He should be mixing in with Leiter Jr. and Hughes, but it's really unclear how that situation's going. He's a converted starting pitcher. He was solid last season, and he's looked good so far this year. I think he still gets used sometimes in multi innings, which is going to impact his ability to get saves. But I'm still kind of interested in on seeing how that bullpen kind of worked itself out. Miguel Castro, Arizona. Andrew Chafin was the closer for a lot of the season, but he's a lefty, so that kind of makes it difficult for him to be full time. Castro's a righty. A lot of times lefties get more uh, relegated to matchup plays. Castro's earned a save on the 12th, the 14th, the 17th when Chafin rested, and yesterday. So he's definitely becoming more of the 1A to 1B to Chafin. And if they lean more towards going with the righty, then eventually he'll not overtake, but have more save opportunities than Chafin. Both should be rostered, though, if you really want saves. And Arizona is a lot better of a team than they used to be. So that's it for really people that are going to get saves. The rest of these options are more just for holds, and maybe they'll mix a save in based on people resting. Brian Baker, Baltimore, 13% rostered. Uh, Last season, he was pretty good. He had 4 wins, a save, 9 holds. 3.49 ERA is not great. 1.23 whip is not great, but he's improved this season. And Baltimore has just got a pretty good track record of developing relief pitchers. Felix Bautista last season, Yennier Cano this season, Danny Columbe. They seem to find these guys. Jorge Lopez last year before they traded him. So I kind of trust their development, and they're second in the AL with a 27-15 record. Well, at the time of when I wrote this up, it's probably changed now, but they're going to win a lot of games, I think. So this guy's got a weird last name. Peter Strzelecki, Milwaukee.
Yeah, he's
9%
Polish.
rostered.
He's a Polak.
He was solid last season. 2 wins, 1 save, 4 holds, 2.83 ERA, 1.23 whips. Not great. Not much of a strikeout pitcher, 40 and 35 innings. But once they traded Hader last season, it bumped him up in just the leverage of the situations he was coming in. And this season, after Matt Bush got hurt, it seems like more than not he's setting up. So Milwaukee's pretty good. They're first in the NL with a 24-18 record at the time of this. Devin Williams is one of the best closers in the league. So I don't expect him much for Ks, but he seems like a solid option for holds. Tyler Rogers on San Francisco, 9%. He was really good in 2021. 7 wins, 13 saves, 30 holds, 2.22
Got a
ERA,
weird
1.07
way he
whip.
throws.
Yeah, he's a submarino. He's a submarine pitcher with like sidearm. Not a lot of Ks.
Yeah, watch it.
He only had
that's
55
weird to
Ks
watch.
in 81 innings. But it looks like he's overtaken his twin brother, as the setup man coming to the season. And Dovals looked really good as the closer. And I think Rogers has 2 saves already, just mixing in when Doval rests. So I think we mentioned Winkowski earlier on when we were talking about Whitlock. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Who was it? Schreiber. So Winkowski, like Leiter, is SP eligible. So ideally, you could possibly have Leiter Jr. and Winkowski in your SP slots, and then everyone else be a closer or whole guy at the same time, which can be really advantageous if you're going against somebody who has a lot of safe holds or is doing the same thing, but they don't have as good of SP options. He's a converted starter. He was really bad as a starter last year. He had a 5.89 ERA and a 1.59 whip. It's terrible. But they got rid of Matt Barnes. Whitlock and Tanner Houck got moved to the rotation, so that opened up a lot of usage in the bullpen, and he's working high leverage. The fact that Schreiber's gone means Chris Martin will be working the 8th, and Winkowski could work the 6th to 7th inning. I think he gets used in multiple innings at times, so that can limit save opportunities, but his ratios look good. I'm a little worried he's pitching over his head, and he could be hit with some aggression soon, but it's hard to argue with what he's been doing. He's got 2 saves and 3 holds in his last 6 appearances, so clearly the Schreiber injury is helping him. Trevor Stephan, Cleveland, 7%. He's kind of got like pretty middling numbers, but he is up there in the pecking order in a pretty loaded bullpen. They've got James Karinchak, Eli Morgan, Sam Henches. So there's definitely competition for him, but I think he's been working the eighth more than not. Um, Last season, 6 wins, 3 saves, 19 holds, 269 ERA, just pretty good. 1.18 WHIP, not that great, but 82 Ks, 18 walks in 63 innings. That's pretty good. Uh, the Indians have been struggling. I think they'll kind of rebound. I don't know. They're a weird organization. They just never like fully try or put money into anything. But it's hard
You
to
mean
argue
the
with yourself.
Guardians?
And,
The
yeah,
Guardians,
sorry,
right?
Guardians. Yeah, yeah. I
Oh
didn't. I
God.
don't. I don't write the team name. I just put the state. I forgot.
Yeah, I just they'll always be
Plus,
the
major
Indians
like
to me.
every time I think about them, I just think about Major League, and Major
Yeah,
League is not
that's fucking weird. That's a good point. Also, it like makes that movie feel people in the future gonna be like, who the fuck are the Indians? And
right.
they watch
Yeah.
that, you know, like
So Justin Topa really doesn't have much of a track record. Seattle got rid of Eric Swanson. Not got rid of. I think he left in free agency. Toronto signed him. He was great for them last year, so I think he got a decent contract. Andre Munoz, as we mentioned in the news section, has been hurt for a long time now. They demoted Diego Castillo, and Topa's I think pretty much the eighth inning guy now. Matt Brash looks really good, but he tends to blow up. Penn Murphy's kind of regressed from last season. Trevor Gott is working, I think, 6 to 7. So Tope is pretty much the eighth inning guy, which, when you're working the eighth, it just means you have a better shot at getting a hold than most. And they trust you more than every other option. He's only had 17.4 innings across 3 seasons with the Brewers from 2020 to 2022, which is why I'm not that. It's not that I'm not confident in him. It's just he has no real track record of success. But when it comes to relief pitching, that's not always important. These guys come out of nowhere, and they can be good for 1 year, and then you never hear from them again. So it's just all about like
mm,
getting them while they're producing. This is also related to the AJ Puck injury. Tanner Scott, JT Chargois, and Huascar Brazaban. Tanner Scott, similar to Pierce Johnson, really good K rate, at least last year. So last season he had 4 wins, 20 saves, 4 holds, but a 4.31 ERA and a 1.61 WHIP, just really bad. But he
yeah,
had 90 strikeouts in 62.1. I'm sorry, 62.2 innings, which is insane. Just 46 walks at the same time. So it's like Pierce Johnson, where he's either striking somebody out or walking them. I guess you would call that effectively wild. I don't know.
yeah. It seems wild.
It's sort of like going back to the Indians. What's his name? Rick Vaughn or whatever from the movie.
Wild thing,
Yeah, Wild Thing. Well, before he got his glasses and stuff.
right? Oh yeah, before yeah,
Maybe I don't know.
exactly.
Maybe Tanner Scott's vision is impaired, and they need to look into that. But
He needs to get some glasses with tape in the middle.
the fact that Puck's out, it moves up Floro, it moves up Scott, it moves up Brazaban, and moves up Chagua, who just came off the IL, and he's also SB eligible, like Leiter Jr. and who else was it? Winkowski. So Brazaban, he was looking really good, but on the 16th versus Washington, he got absolutely destroyed. 1 out, 2 hits, 1 walk, and 3 earned runs. Before that, he had a 1.93 ERA and a 1.20 WHIP, which the WHIP was pretty high, and it went up to 3.04 and 1.30. So that one outing really destroyed his numbers. But before that, last 30, 2.03 WHIP, 1.13. I'm sorry, 2.03 ERA, 1.13 WHIP with 5 holds, and he had 17 strikeouts in 13 innings. So he was looking really good before all that, and
Yeah,
just some guys to monitor because Pittsburgh's been really good. Robert Stevenson and Dory Moretta. I don't have a ton of confidence in them. I like Moretta's just season long numbers, but it's more about the Pirates just being a much improved offense than years past. I don't know how legit that is. They seem to be regressing a little bit since the start of the year, but I like his stuff. He's only 0% rostered, and I doubt they trade Bednar now, given how well they've been doing. But you never know. And that's pretty much it. That's as far as the ads.
Okay, nice. I see you have maybe since we don't have stuff like listed, maybe you could just kind of riff on it. But I see you got stream pictures this week, upcoming streaming pictures.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be part of the screen sharing stuff. I'm gonna go through like my watch lists and just what I'm looking at far as who's available.
Okay,
If
you
you
want me
want
to
to,
share your
I can
screen?
share my screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I thought it was already. I need to turn it back on.
Oh no, I got your screen going.
Oh, okay.
Oh shit, that looks like the Infinite when you go to that when you showed the screen there. It's some
Okay.
Kubrick
So
looking shit.
normally what I do is just go through transaction trends. So you can see Miller. We mentioned him. He's going to start Tuesday versus Atlanta. I don't know if I'm going to use that. Kramer's been okay lately. Schuster's on Atlanta. He could get a win. I don't really want to deal with Kluber, but what's this upcoming matchup? That's Arizona. Yeah, I wouldn't want to bother with that. And he got absolutely destroyed today. Williamson, I think his next start might be at home. I don't want to deal with that. Stone, he's worth watching. Rich Hill, no, against Texas. That's not good. Here's Winkowski. We mentioned him. Obviously, I'm not going to stream him. I'm just showing you his availability. Patrick Corbin's actually been pretty good lately. Herman's obviously suspended. We didn't talk about it, but John Brebbia, he's a good SB eligible guy. Hicks, if you're looking for holds and you want to fill an SB slot. So basically, I'm just trying to make sure. Oh wow, Grayson Rodriguez got dropped. Uh, I'm not missing any people that I haven't watched already that look interesting. Brandon Belak in Milwaukee, that doesn't look great, but he's been decent. Ryan Brothers against Washington. Ugh, I don't know, maybe. Brock Stewart is another good SB eligible option. He's getting holds and his numbers are decent. Okay, so now that I've gone over all the most added starters, I go through my watch list. I just clean up people who've already been picked up. Herman, I guess I'll just leave him there. Just trying to go through people that I don't want to deal with anymore or have been rostered. Leonard Jr. is just here as a reminder that I need to add him possibly. A lot of these guys. Oh, Clevin just went on the IL, but he wasn't that great to begin with. Syndergaard's pretty hard to trust. Schuster actually had a good game today. I messed up. I was going to stream him. I went with Joey Wentz on the Tigers, and he got blown up. That was a bad move.
Damn. Syndergaard,
Yeah.
how's he doing on the Dodgers now that he's there?
Who?
Or is this year 2 for Syndergaard as a Dodger?
Oh, I think so.
Was he Met last year?
No, I think he was on the Angels or something.
Okay, shit. All right. I'm behind on this. Yeah, you're right. He was in the Angels.
So now what I'll do is I'll highlight the week from Monday to Sunday, just kind of scan. So like Brady Singer against Detroit, maybe. He actually has two decent starts. I don't go with two start pitchers, but Detroit and Washington's not bad. Reed Detmers against Miami looks pretty good. Detmers is actually coming off of a pretty ridiculous start. Yeah, he had 12 strikeouts in 5
Oh
innings.
God, damn. All right, shit.
He's a former top prospect. Hopefully, he can kind of figure it out. I think he's kind of struggled so far this year. Martin Perez against Pittsburgh. I don't know about that. It's not nothing looking that great right now. Kyle Quantrill against White Sox, maybe. Lorenzen against Kansas City looks okay. Uh, Marco Gonzalez against Oakland. I think you could do that. That would be okay. Patrick Corbin against Kansas City looks all right. Uh, I like Garrett looked really good in his last start, but that's in Colorado. That's not ideal, but he's coming off of two really good starts. Um, 16 Ks in the last two starts. So
Yeah, shit. Bad ERA.
let's see what else. Grayson Rodriguez against Texas. I don't know. That's a really difficult matchup, but he's obviously one of the best pitching prospects in the game. Tanner Houck against Arizona. I don't know if he goes five. Mikolas against Cleveland. Now that looks pretty good. Cleveland's the worst offense in the league. Varlin, you could think about it, Toronto, because he's just been really good lately, and he's a pretty decent prospect. Yeah, he's been pretty good in every start so far. So, despite the difficult matchup, I would think about that. And other than that, yeah, I'd say there's a few that look good, but not a ton. As you can see, I mentioned the 25th is a low streaming day for hitters. So you might want to think about Colorado because they're at home. You know, like the fringe guys we mentioned. Um, Cincinnati, they're at home. So we mentioned those guys. You know, somebody like Ezekiel Tovar, who is 26% rostered. Randall Grichuk, who is 8%. He looks like a good stream. Charlie Blackman, I think, is over 50. No, he's 40%. That looks like a decent stream for the 25th. All these Rockies that are at home. Then you could look at maybe someone like, well, we mentioned De La Cruz. He's at Colorado. JD Davis, I think, is borderline. Yeah, 41% if he's still available. Diaz is always good hitter at home if you need a catcher. And then the Giants in Milwaukee, that's a good. Actually, Brenton Doyle, his average is bad, but he's got 4 home runs and 6 stolen bases and pretty limited runs, so he looks like a pretty nice ad. Uh, I should have wrote him up. It's just, I had so many ready. Mark Vientos got called up if you need power, but I don't know if he's going to let him play every day because Buck Showalter's an idiot. That's pretty much it. And then, what I'll also do is I'll look at my opponent. Just check like their overall roster as far as what they've done. Kind of see they don't have a ton of stolen bases. They have decent power.
Oh, just to see what you could stack against them.
They only have two closers. I don't really have to, and Kimbrel's like borderline. I don't have to worry about saves. They have AJ Puck hurt, so that's another closer they don't have. Then I look at head-to-head stats. I can see what they've done just as far as like weekly, which can be a little deceiving, but it looks like I don't have to worry about stolen bases. They're not that competitive in it at all. So I'll lean more power hitters. I'll go to totals. I can see I've got almost twice as many stolen bases on the season as them. Home runs
Oh,
about the
nice.
same, but I've got a big advantage in RBI so far. So I'll try and just stack home runs. And then obviously they barely had any closers, so Their 20 saves to my 34, I'm not really worried about. And you can see my
Yeah.
ratios compared to theirs.
Better ERA, better whip.
So obviously, you
Oh
can see
yeah.
I'm
No
punting.
wins, but yep.
Yeah, I'm punting starting pitching. I have no wins at all. They have 23, and I have no Ks. I think. Oh damn. Yeah, because Verlander won today. I've lost wins by one, but I would have tied it. Fucking Verlander, piece of shit. Yeah,
So
because
it's
Verlander
because
had a
he's
good
got that
start.
Kate Upton, man. Isn't that the one with him?
Yeah, because Verlander had that
That's
good start.
yeah.
I lost ERA and wins at the same fucking time.
He
That's
doesn't have to
annoying.
win, man. He's already won.
But I mean, this team's still decent. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's not going to help. And then that's my standard for the auction, going against the guy in first.
Oh shit. So yeah, not a good week. Not a good week.
Well, 4 and 5 is not bad. Uh, that's the thing about the strategy is like even when I'm not having a good week,
You're
I'll
getting
finish.
points.
Well, I'll finish like either tying or just under it.
Yeah.
So ideally, I'll finish 7-2, 6-3, or whatever most of the time, and uh, fucking Joey Wentz like that. That stream alone. Here, look at this shit. This fucking scrub motherfucker. That stream alone, the guy absolutely blew up. He only went 2 innings and he gave up like 4 runs or 6 runs or something like that. That cost me my
Oh
ratios just
jeez.
by itself.
Yeah.
I was going to go with um, this guy right here. I was just worried about Seattle because they have a good offense, but I should have thought about how they strike out. I think they're like top five in the league. And I also could have gone Walker, but I didn't. I didn't spend $1 in Fab, and the guy who also put up a zero bid had a higher waiver claim, so I lost it. So
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
either one of these two starts, I would have tied wins and I would have won ERA and WHIP if I had gone that instead of that Wentz guy. Which is this is why I don't like starting pitching and I don't want to stream. It's just the minimum is too high for the default. It's 20 innings. So I only had 18 going into today. And if I didn't add a starting pitcher, I would have had 19 and lost every stat. So that's why I had to go with another starter, which I didn't want to.
Yeah.
It came down to Liam Hendricks was supposed to return this week and he didn't. So that kind of fucked me because I needed his 1 to 2 innings and I got zero out of it. See, I had him, I have a lot of people on the IL right now. So I
Oh,
couldn't
I
put him
see.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the way it goes sometimes. Like, I've said it over and over again. Like baseball is my weakest sport. I'm much better with basketball and then football, but I could still do pretty well with this strategy. It's just it's not as reliable as my other ones. It's just the baseball season is so long when it's like 200 fucking games.
Oh jeez. Yeah. That's really long.
All right, so we're gonna keep trying to do these every Sunday. Next week it's not gonna be as long. I'm going to not have as many ads as this time, and hopefully the news and notes aren't as extensive. I feel like this is probably above normally what's going on for a week.
Yeah, that was a good bit, but it was a good amount. Good information, man. Hope I was able to produce on my side here, showing off all the stuff.
Yeah, I ran out of the stats at the end. That's why I need to do a little bit less hitting wise, so I can cover relief pitchers more, which is more what I'm focusing on.
All right.
But hopefully, the the like 40% guys are still available, and the deep league plays work out because those guys are pretty fringe to begin with.
All right, cool, man. All right, yeah. Subscribe to this channel. It's back up. Check it out.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Leland Taglieri. I mainly just post recaps of bullpen usage as game ends. Sometimes I'll add like hitting ads and promotions and stuff like that. But I mainly focus on relief pitching and whole league options and stuff like that.
Cool. All right, see you guys next week. A weekly recap. All right.